There's no such thing as being cancelled! An old, mean gay woman returns from the Upside Down to tell everyone else they're wrong. Plus, how the horrific events of September 11th, 2001 led to the downfall of the next great television icon. Was Ellen DeGeneres with Madame Web's mom in the Amazon when she was researching spiders right before she died? What is up, chicken butts? It's me, and I'm here, and you are you, and you are there. And today we are talking about Ellen the Degenerate, a former television talk show host turned to the Queen of Mean, who spends the majority of her time on the mic in her #1 Netflix stand-up special talking about how she was kicked out of show business. We're going to go through some of the highlights of this stand-up special, but first, I just want to say I'm not going into this as a hater. I was not sitting back and waiting for this special to drop so that I could go in on this person. Like, I really am impartial. I never really watched any of her shows other than if a celebrity clip went viral or something. I honestly don't think she's crossed my mind since the Dakota Johnson incident.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited.
But to be honest, I love a good redemption story. I love seeing people trying to become a better version of themselves. Otherwise, what is the point? Even if you're not in therapy, which everyone should be in therapy, you need to be spending time with yourself, checking in with yourself and checking yourself and basically just unpacking your shit. It can even be something as small as you making a joke that hurts one of your friend's feelings. We can give you the benefit of the doubt that you did not hurt their feelings on purpose, but you can still take a second and say like, whoa, my bad, didn't mean it that way. Won't say it again. It is important to say that intent does matter, but it matters less than impact. It's up to the person who's saying what they're saying to make sure that the person receiving it actually understands what they were trying to say. I know there's some people out there who say, well, I didn't hurt your feelings on purpose, so I'm not going to apologize. Bro, apologizing is not about you. If you care about this person at all, doesn't it bother you that they're feeling worse than they were before you said whatever you said? You can totally stand by that what you said or did was innocent while also acknowledging that it caused harm to somebody else. And honestly, if this is a friend or someone who cares about and respects you, they're probably already going to give you that benefit of the doubt anyway. Let's look at another example. You are in the car in traffic and your foot slips off the brake and you rear end somebody. Obviously, that wasn't on purpose. It's literally called an accident. But, you know, there might be damage to the car. You might have caused them whiplash or just a headache for their day. You didn't do that on purpose, but of course you are at fault. Of course you should apologize and acknowledge your role in their day being worse than it was when it started. And there is a big, big difference between I'm sorry I hurt your feelings and I'm sorry you felt that way. Because that is totally dodging accountability. It's basically doing the same thing as an emotionally abusive person who says you're just being too sensitive. Time for today's Just the Tip. If you have a friend or a romantic partner who tells you that you're being too sensitive, time to go. Pack those bags because you deserve to be with someone who validates your emotions. This has been Just the Tip. What a gross world we live in where sensitivity and emotion and all of that is seen as a bad thing, especially when it comes to men. We should all be more sensitive. All of that is to say, I think there's another world in the multiverse where Miss Not So Generous actually took the 4 years since her show got canceled by herself, mind you. And also, I just want to say, who stops at 19 seasons? You know, NBC was pissed that they lost out on the year of the farewell 20th season spectacular advertising. Like, that is wild to me. But Miss Capital D could not stand the heat, so she bailed from that kitchen. Get out! So she's been laying low for the past 4 years, and now she's come back with this supposedly final stand-up special for Netflix that will be her big farewell before she disappears into the void. And mind you, nobody's telling her to do that. I promise you there are other channels and studios that would give her a show in a second if she wanted one, but she'd rather say she's been kicked out of show business. On that note, can you imagine if she becomes one of those like liberal celebrities that goes completely to the other side and in like 5 years she's hosting a show on Fox? Even if she didn't go back to television, if she was on like Disney Plus, I'm surprised they don't have any form of a talk show or a daytime show. All the stars of their shows could filter through the show, or The Mandalorian and the bad bitch or whatever her name is, and they could tie it into her playing Dory, it would sell itself. But going back to what I was saying like 5 points ago, imagine if this person came back, how wonderful and inspirational it could be if she said, yo, I am sorry to my staff who I treated poorly. That's not what I meant to do. It's not how I meant it, but it didn't land, and I apologize. And to the guests who felt set up to be embarrassed or bullied, I have no excuse. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I played into the misogynistic attacks against a child star. I'm sorry for taking part in the sexual harassment of a 20-year-old boy who had nude photos taken of him while he was inside a private residence. Not only did she make fun of him to his face, but tell me why she put the motherfucking photos on the motherfucking screen.
Stop, you're making me blush, dude.
I don't really care for Justin Bieber, but there's something to be said about a host whose phrase is be kind to one another, absolutely getting her life from humiliating this kid with nude photos that were taken without his consent. But nope. There is not a single moment of humility in the entire damn thing. She basically shows up and says, yeah, I'm mean. You just don't like it because I'm a woman. And it's just wild. It makes me think about the fact that several of her old employees said that no one was allowed to approach her or question her on the set of her show. Like, it's very clear she is the type of narcissist that surrounds herself only with people she can control. No one who would question her, no one who would push back about anything. In fact, the late Anne Heche, who famously dated Ellen in the late 90s as one of the basically earliest queer couples of pop culture, was asked about these allegations in 2020. And she said, I haven't spoken to Ellen in years. I'd listen to the people who have. So I thought it would be interesting to compare the statements that they each said in interviews about each other after their relationship ended. So Ellen said, she walked out the door and I haven't spoken to her since. I don't have the answers. I thought Anne loved me with all her heart, but now I know the truth. Anne never truly loved me. I was being used. On the opposite end of things, Anne was speaking about the relationship very, very fondly. She still called it one of the most beautiful times of her life, but she clarified that if we live in love and kindness, and that is my destination and my dream for us all, I would say that was not her goal. But it gets so much better. Anne went on to say, I broke up with her because her goal was to have a lot of money. Mine was to find love, and hers was, I want $60 billion. Okay, so it's very clear the relationship did not end well and both sides were hurt, and I can't even imagine what it's like trying to date in the public eye. But why don't we go back through these quotes just one more time and see if anything relates to the topic at hand. Spoiler alert, it does. Ellen says, she walked out the door and I haven't spoken to her since. I don't have answers. Whew, right off the bat. Skirting 100% of the responsibility and putting the blame all on the other party. The narrative here is that completely without any conversation, without any indication, Anne just walked out the door and ghosted her one day. This part's a little bit silly, but her story actually reminded me of something.
Los Angeles is boring. I'm gonna go. Well, but wait a minute. Here's Holly. Okay, don't worry. I'm not gonna say anything about what. Goodbye, Karen.
I can't be sure that that's not what happened because I wasn't there, but it's very, very rare in life that things actually come out of the blue. People don't usually just snap. There's usually a lot of warning signs and red flags and patterns of abuse that clearly show what's coming if you're willing to look. But anyway, let's finish the quote. I thought Anne loved me with all her heart, but now I see she never truly loved me. I was used. So it continues the narrative that Ellen was completely blindsided, but now adds the element of emotional manipulation of someone who was pretending to care about you just so that they could use you. But the thing is that a lot of this special is about how this is actually the second time that Ellen's been canceled. And the first time, of course, was when she came out in the 90s and was banished from television. So I struggle to understand how you can be both ostracized from Hollywood and banished from TV and also believe that your girlfriend, who is a Hollywood film actress, could be using you for career gain. When the pair met, Anne was already an Emmy Award-winning actress. She had appearances across television and film with award-winning roles in Donnie Brasco and Wag the Dog, and appearances in Volcano and the iconic I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Hey! You forgot your cigarettes.
And I want to say, it wasn't like today. There was a huge difference between television actors and movie actors, and it was a massive deal if some movie actor was going to be in a guest star role on some sitcom. So the fact that Anne Heche, the movie star, was making a guest starring role in Ellen's television sitcom would tell me that it was actually Ellen using Anne to try and get more eyes on her show. And of course, narcissists love to rewrite the past in whatever way makes them look better. So of course, she was ripped off television and immediately sent away to die in a swamp somewhere. But actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. Because after she came out on her show, it exploded in the ratings and was actually renewed for another season. Only the following year, when nobody showed up to keep watching, did it actually get canceled. So that was Ellen. Well, CBS pretty much immediately swooped in, and the following year planned to premiere Ellen again, a continuation of that sitcom. So that ended up getting renamed The Ellen Show, which ran for one season. No one watched it, so once again, we got canceled. Luckily, only 1 year after that, NBC offers her a daytime talk show slot. So where, again, were you canceled? I get it. It sounds better to say you were canceled for being queer than that you had 4 shows with your name on it in 4 years that were all canceled.
Good evening. I'm Ellen DeGeneres.
And I'm Anne Heche. Merry Christmas, Man TV.
Yes, and we'd like to start by saying we're gay.
So deal with it.
Once they go public, all the roles that Anne was in the running for basically evaporate to the point where she switches to directing. Some people might argue that the 1998 remake of Psycho is what did it, but I think those people are wrong. The director is a 2-time Oscar nominee, and most of that cast has gone on to win awards themselves, and they are still working today. So apparently the studio told Anne she could not bring a woman as her date to the opening night of Volcano, and she decided to do it anyway. And this resulted in them being escorted out before the movie even ended and getting uninvited from her own opening night party. The next day, the studio called and took back a $10 million offer they'd made her, and she did not work on another studio picture for 10 years. So remember when I said that Anne started exploring directing? In those few years after they became a public couple, she actually directed 3 projects that starred Ellen DeGeneres. There was the queer film If These Walls Could Talk Too, and then a documentary called Ellen DeGeneres, American Summer, which chronicled the stand-up tour she was on at the time. And finally, a film called Reaching Normal, which co-starred Andie MacDowell and Paul Rudd. So even if we call it a wash and say that this was a mutually beneficial relationship, it's obvious that the cultural conversation was much louder about their relationship than it was about their projects. And even as Ellen rebranded as a daytime TV show host and became more popular than ever, Anne's career never really found its footing again. But let's jump back to the future, which is now. Although if I've already filmed this, then that's the past. So we've covered that Ellen was never actually canceled the first time. And of course, we already know she was not actually canceled this second time. Did I mention she was paid $20 million for her last Netflix special? But anyway, the entire opening is this glitzy, over-the-top, super edited montage all about the haters.
Too far, too gay.
2 years ago, I started ending my show by saying, be kind to one another. Here's the downside. I can never do anything unkind ever now, ever.
Breaking news tonight. Is the Queen of Nice really the Queen of Mean?
Respond to this with the most insane stories about Ellen being mean.
She is not the happy-go-lucky, nice person.
You have to come under fire again. Accusation.
God, I'm sorry, but this is one of the only parts that make me laugh.
It's a breaking story in the world of entertainment. Ellen is back. Although she's saying this new special will be her farewell.
This is supposed to be the finale of your career. You could have celebrated all of your accomplishments, but no, because you're a victim now. God, it actually churns my stomach that she implies people couldn't handle her because she's a strong woman.
I'm a strong woman.
And then, because this is a produced, essentially fictional film, the audience applauds and applauds and applauds. And then they stand up and they keep clapping and it just keeps freaking going.
Thank you.
You had an entire team edit together this opening montage, but you couldn't have them cut out any second of this masturbatory clapping sequence. And just so you know, if you've never been in a live audience taping before, they always have people hyping up the crowd, and they typically also have signs that light up when you're supposed to laugh or clap. It's all fake. So moments like this are very intentionally left in. This woman is basically standing in front of an echo chamber because these are her biggest fans. They're gonna laugh and cry and clap for whatever she has to say. And of course, if she's actually going to retire after this, there's extra emotion at this event. You might not get to ever see her again. This was all just a bunch of creative manipulation with the edit from the director and the editors to try and gaslight us all into thinking that she is this incredibly inspirational, strong woman.
I'm a strong woman.
But then she ends the show like this.
So after a lifetime of caring, I just can't anymore. So I don't.
God, does that not sound exactly like a meltdown post of someone leaving a Facebook group? And then they clap again. And she just stands there, soaking it the fuck up. But she's not gone yet. Oh, no. She comes back. And then she talks about traveling with this show and touring and meeting people, which I'm really impressed she could do all that while canceled. Then she soaks up that applause again for as long as she possibly can, and then she leaves. And as I watched Ellen crossing the stage to leave for the supposedly final time, all I could think to myself was,
Goodbye, Karen.
There used to be a time when talk show hosts could essentially use their celebrity guests as props. Like the stuff that David Letterman would do.
Why are you
so obsessed with my sex life?
Looks like a lovely offering. And by the way, you're a lovely offering.
Oh.
When you hug me like that, I think my carrot moved. Yeah, I'd like to see you sweaty.
Ellen created a character that had the same name and face as her, but was actually the exact opposite of her, and that became unsustainable. And she's right. Other people are mean, and they don't get canceled. She's so close to getting it. But when you're ending every show with the phrase, be kind to one another, while simultaneously setting your guests up for mean-spirited pranks and embarrassments, then someone like Dakota Johnson will probably be too much for you to handle.
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Of course I like you. You knew I liked you.
Okay, and you wanted to know how 9/11 led to this moment? Gerard Way witnessed the events of 9/11 firsthand. He ended up creating My Chemical Romance as a coping mechanism to work through his trauma. My Chemical Romance was the favorite music of Stephenie Meyer, who used that as inspiration for the Twilight Saga. E.L. James became obsessed with the Twilight Saga and turned it into sexy fan fiction that was ultimately published as 50 Shades of Grey. Dakota Johnson was cast in 50 Shades of Grey, which ultimately led to her appearance on The Ellen DeGeneres Show. Did I leave out any of her worst moments? Make sure to put them in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and be kind to one another.